Is our love strong, just like a love song? Baby, it's haunting me. Don't know what you're thinking, it's like I'm sinking deep underwater. Maybe it's harder, harder, harder for me. Oh, harder for me. Maybe we're over it, or maybe just lovers, cause under the covers, baby, you're showing me how to be fearless so no one can hear us. You're throwing the pillars through the floor. Now put your loving, loving, loving on me. Hey, loving on me.
How's everybody today? I know it's hot, but it's cooler in here. How is everybody today? Kitka, are they loud enough? They're not loud enough. They're not loud enough. All right, let's try this side of the of our lovely guests. I'm going to say count up to 1, 2, 3, and I want you to make as much noise as you possibly can. I want you to clap, I want you to cheer, I want you to whistle. I don't know, you can scream if you want to scream, but 1, 2, 3. That's the one, that's what we're after. Then you walk across to this side of our guests. Now the same thing, 1, 2, 3. Oh, that's good. But you see, you can't make a wedding with just one person. You need a husband, you need a wife. Let's put it together. Both sides of our families. 1, 2, 3. That was softer than it was individually. All right. Can I please ask everybody to be up and standing before we formally start? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the wedding of Joshua and Alice Messina. On behalf of their families, we welcome you and thank you for coming today to celebrate this wonderful occasion, their wedding. On their behalf, we would like to again thank you for all your well wishes. For those who haven't seen, there is a wishing well right at the front of the entrance. In their honour, can I please get everybody to give me a huge round of applause? Thank you. My name is George Trakowski. I'll be your Master of Ceremonies for this wonderful occasion. Today here with my colleagues Kitka Band, one of Melbourne's best Macedonian and Balkan bands. We also have Double Happiness Videography, Ali Marie Photography, and the wonderful Grand Star Reception here, which do an absolutely amazing job. Just a huge round of applause for everybody that will be entertaining and capturing and leading the way. So, on that note, please, ladies and gentlemen, can you please put your hands together for the groom's parents, that is Frank and Jenny Messino. Now let's make some noise, everybody. Well done. Keep that applause going for Alice's parents, the bride's parents, that is Jason and Kathy Chi. Wonderful. Now we're going to welcome our groomsmen and our bridesmaids all together. First we will have the godfather, who is also Joshua's brother, that is Jesse Messino, the best man Caleb Cannon, Philip Mance and Kale Aldente. Then from the bridesmaids we have the matron of honour, Summer Mackenzie, the maid of honour, Brigitte Postay, Victoria Messino, who is Joshua's sister, and Isabella Tafanui, and Taylor Gorman-Howell. Let's a huge round of applause, please. Let's make some noise, ladies and gentlemen. What an entrance. Come on, boys, put your hands up. Fantastic, fantastic. Now, ladies and gentlemen, after 35 years of playing in a band and 30 odd years of MCing, I'm a little bit deaf. I can't hear anybody clapping, anybody cheering, anybody whistling. So, we know what we're here for, yes? At least one person does, thank you. Do we know what we're here for? Fantastic! Then, ladies and gentlemen, let me present to you, for the very first time, as husband and wife, Mr. and Mrs. Joshua and Alice Messino. Up from the stairs. Let's make some noise for our bride and our groom! Put your hands up, Josh, come on, make some noise! Well done, well done, well done. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Kika. Thank you, videographers, photographers. Now, can I please ask you to kindly take your assigned seats as we jump straight into some of the formalities. And we will invite Alice and Joshua to the center of the dance floor for their very first dance as husband and wife. Again, I'm going to ask all the kids to go sit down. No running through. Thank you. Otherwise, Chicho George Vika. Beautiful. No, it's not for anything else, guys. It's just very slippery. So the dry ice does become very slippery. Could we just have the lights down a little bit, please? Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for that amazing, amazing, amazing entrance and support for our newlyweds. Now, I will ask you to give them one more huge round of applause, please, as they make their way to the center of the dance floor for their very first dance as husband and wife. Mrs. Messino. Now, before we start the next one, can I please invite all our bridal party, that includes the parents, and ladies and gentlemen, after about 15 seconds, I will invite the rest of you. So first, just our bridal party, please. Yes, mums and dads, yes, everybody, brothers, sisters. Cousins will be up in about 15 seconds. Okay, so, like I said, in 15 seconds, just so I don't announce it again, please everybody make their way up to the dance floor. Thank you, Kitko.
When no one else can understand me, when everything I do is wrong, you give me hope and consolation. You give me strength to carry on, and you're always there to lend a hand in everything I do.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, please feel free to join in.
And when you smile, the world is brighter. You touch my hand and I'm a king. Your kiss to me is not a fortune. Your love for me is everything. I guess I'll never know the reason why you love me as you do. That's the wonder
Well done, ladies and gentlemen. Give yourselves a huge round of applause. Can I please ask everybody to kindly take their assigned seats as we move into our speeches. Okay, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. As you can see, entree is being served. Okay, please feel free to eat and enjoy yourselves and have a drink quietly. But can I please ask everybody to have their own personal conversations to a minimum. So, not too much talking, just listening please and paying attention. Good evening once again, ladies and gentlemen, and it gives me great pleasure to start off with some wonderful well wishes from our lovely immediate family. Very first, I would love to invite Andrew and Oscar Chi, who are Alice's brothers, to say a few words. So can I please get Andrew and Oscar to stand up? And I'll pass the microphone over to them. Please, a huge round of applause, please, ladies and gentlemen. Tony, up a bit, please.
Alright, good evening everyone. For those who don't know me, I'm Andrew. The bride is my lovely sister. I'm Oscar, I'm the youngest of them all. On behalf of my parents, Jason and Kathy, thank you all for attending this special moment with the newlyweds. We'd also like to thank the Messino family for help setting this all up. And on behalf of the guests, thank you Alice and Josh for letting us all share this special moment together. In the past few months, I've seen Alice put a lot of effort into planning tonight. So thank you. Josh, good to see you rocked up. Good start. Alice, growing up with you is one of the greatest highlights of my life. As kids, we created utter chaos. My partner in crime. As stressed as our parents were owning businesses, dealing with us was another animal. Especially you. I guess that's why they handballed us over to Elaine and George. For everyone else, Elaine and George were our childhood babysitters, who we basically call family to this day. Because our parents were so busy running businesses, Alice, me, and a younger brother Oscar had a very close bond. Again, we created utter chaos. Our dad had a huge fish pond in the backyard, and we'd jump inside pretending we were army soldiers storming the beaches of Normandy. The fish didn't stand a chance. We also had a sand pit where we would wreak havoc. Most of the time, the sand wasn't in there. We spent a lot of time together. Until one fateful day, when we were about 5 to 7 years old, we got a PlayStation 2 game console, but with only 2 controllers. Me and Oscar were glued and addicted to video games, and poor Alice, she was left alone. She was upset. She was jealous. Her comrades left her. So in a counter-attack, she cut the console power cords and poured orange juice inside the disc reader. Fair to say, Alice was a bit of a force. Every time I got a birthday gift as a kid, Alice would chuck a sook because she didn't get a gift as well. And chucking a sook is putting it lightly. So my parents would have to go back to the toy store and get her a gift as well on my birthday. On my birthday. She was also really funny, but channeled this in malevolent ways. When we were around 7 to 10 years old, she convinced Oscar as a prank that he was allergic to eating mushrooms. He wasn't. She forgot about the joke, but he literally avoided eating mushrooms for about 10 years. Until we mentioned it in passing years later. I can gladly say that at present, Oscar's doing well and he eats his mushrooms. Alice, it's been a privilege to see you transform from the bossy little kid who everyone feared into the beautiful, hardworking woman you've become today. Seeing you navigate through life, don't cry. Seeing you navigate through life, excel in your professional career, surrounding yourself with genuine friends and finding your other half. From the bottom of our hearts, our family's so proud of you. We love you. Now, Josh, I still remember meeting you for the first time. Alice was catching up with Caleb, so I went in her room to say hi. And there you were, Caleb's mate. Who would have thought? To be honest, I didn't really think much of Josh when we first met. We didn't really spend a lot of time together. I just noticed that Alice was often in better moods when they were dating. That was pretty good. We didn't really get to know each other until COVID-19 happened, and during that time, Josh stayed with us. We would spend time together, listen to 7 years music together, trying new whiskies and planning our futures as the next crypto millionaires. It was during this time I met the man. Josh, you're an intelligent guy, but one of the things that stands out the most to me about you is that you're undeniably yourself, and you back yourself always, for better or for worse. It was during the private ceremony a few months ago where you showed to our families how much you loved Alice with every fibre in your being. You locked eyes with Alice and you never looked away. You gazed into her eyes as if time froze and you two were the only people on earth. You displayed a level of conviction for your love that was Shakespearean. Welcome to our family, and thank you for loving and caring for my baby sister in a way that you'd be proud as an older brother. Alice, Josh, a few words to you guys. There's a Chinese quote by philosopher Lao Tzu. In Chinese, it goes, 被一个人深深爱着会让你坚强，而深深的爱一个人会让你勇敢。 It translates to being deeply loved by someone gives you strength, while loving someone deeply gives you courage. Josh, Alice, love and give each other strength to navigate the road bumps in life together. Also, love and give each other courage to be willing to walk into any situation together, confident and knowing that you guys will have each other's backs. So everyone, please join me in raising a glass to Alice and Josh, wishing them a lifetime of happiness, love and prosperity. Here's to a marriage and love that will transcend this lifetime and the next. Cheers.
Well done, gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, please, a huge round of applause. Please for Andrew and Oscar. I was about to say Andre, but that would be both names combined. Okay, now, should I go sit down for this one, or are you going to be that long? Alrighty, please put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen, for my beloved Auntie Jenny and Uncle Frank, but Josh's parents first and foremost. Ladies and gentlemen, please, a huge round of applause for Jenny and Frank Messino, along with Victoria.
Thank you. I'd like to acknowledge Joshua and Alice's ancestry, the grandparents, Alice's paternal grandparents in China, Fonglu Chai, Zizini Chung, Alice's maternal grandparents, Yechai Du, who was passed over, and her grandmother, Yun Zen Lau Lau, who is here with us today. Joshua's grandparents, Frank's parents, Mario and Nina Messina, you can see Jen's, and my parents, Stoyan and Velika Jovanchevsky, all who have gone to the Lord. We acknowledge them and respect them and love them. Okay. Huan Ying Wei, Joshua Her Alice, Tsu Fu Tamen, Young Woman Chin Tzu, San Di Su Fu Kamen, Her Ni Man Shir Shir. For those of you who would like to know what that was, you can Google it. Dobro dojdovte, mili gosti, na našta sretna veselba. Dobro dojdovte, mili gosti, na našta sretna veselba. Ви пожелавам све најубаво, ви посакувам сите да си помините убаво и кашо нема Господ нека даде радости и да ви благослова сите. Му пожелавам на син ми Джошуа и сна ми Алис све најубаво во животот заедно. Господ нека ги благослова во секој начин да бидат заедно довек и во година нека Франк и јас станеме дедот и баба. Благодарам. Okay, so welcome everybody, our loved guests, and to our happy celebration of Joshua and Alice's Messino's marriage. Thank you for coming, and we wish you all have a great time, and God bless you. Alice, you are loved, my second daughter. You're welcomed in our family. You're a beautiful young lady, and you're a perfect match for Josh. Thanks for taking him off my hands. Remember, a threefold cord is not easily broken, so continue to have our Lord in the centre of your marriage. Also, love bears all things and endures all things, and love never fails. May God bless you both in every way, and know that you are not only our children but His. May you be together forever, and Frank and I become grandparents soon. So, Joshy, thanks for being a great son. And I decided to write your speech in the tune of one of your favourite shows when you were growing up. So, be blessed. Just sit right back and you'll hear a tale of our son
Joshy,
who started
in his mummy's womb.
9 months a room poshing. He's got dad good with cars and engineers.
His mum nurse and at home.
2 siblings, Jess and Vic, followed
Our 3 children home. Our 3 children home.
The nights they started getting rough. His feeds my sleep did cost, if not for the courage of our Jesus Christ.
Now, Josh mum would be lost.
We all would be lost. God had him crawling, rolling,
Too.
running and walking to school. At Christian College, Josh
Became our captain too.
in God's word and in soccer excelled. Brigade and youth he'd go. And now he's all grown up, you know. A child of God, you can tell. A godly man, you can tell. A gentleman, and be sure of this. Beautiful all around.
Intelligent, hardworking too.
You love Alice, Christian wife.
We love you both, Professor and
Your proud mum,
here to celebrate love.
All right, before I hand over to Victoria, can you please give our lovely duet a wonderful round of applause? Kitka, if you ever need an extra pair of singers, there you go. As long as it's you're singing Gilligan's Island, which, by the way, Josh, I absolutely love, and your mum got me hooked on it as well. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for my lovely little cousin, Victoria Messino.
First of all, I want to thank everyone for being here. It means a lot that you've all showed up today. I want to thank Mum and Dad, and of course the married couple. Love you both. Okay, so I want to start off talking about my brother Josh. I'm proud of who you are and the man you've become, and the husband you will be now, and one day a wonderful father. Josh has taught me many things that will always stick with me in my life. Sorry. And though he may not always say it, through his actions I've seen how much he has always stuck by me and had my back and always wanted the very best for me. If anyone knows Josh well, he is not easily shaken. He's a strong person. Behind his rough exterior and his background in fighting and security, Josh is loving, thoughtful, giving and caring. He is a man of true honesty and faith, but sometimes too honest. I used to think that his honesty was a bit hard to deal with at times, but I soon learnt when I grew up that it was needed all along. All he wanted was the best for me and just growing me throughout the whole process. Some examples of this: when dealing with my own dramas and times of troubles with friends and other people, he would always be there to comfort me and push me forward and not look at what others have done or look at the past, reminding me of my true worth in God, to not let what anyone does bring me down and to always stay strong in Jesus. Thank you. And now for Alice, my beautiful sister. From the day you came into our lives, you quickly became someone I could look up to as a sister. From going on shopping trips and mini adventures to long, deep and meaningful chats about our lives and spiritual journeys. I always wanted a sister growing up, so I knew, Alice, you were the answer to my prayers. She came at the most perfect timing and helped me through many things in my life, including my school years, especially the last few years of high school. Thank you. Alice is one of the most hardworking women I've ever met. She is strong yet nurturing, funny but kind. And now you may be both individuals, have walked their own walks and grown from many things in their lives, all to bring them to this point where we are today. While they still have their own walks and paths that they take, God has joined them as one to walk this journey together. In unity, growing stronger with each step they take, they perfectly complement each other and they genuinely make each other better and grow each other in faith. So, just a few encouragements is this Bible verse, Matthew chapter 19, verse 5 to 6. A man will leave his father and mother and be united to his wife, and the two will become one flesh. So they are no longer two, but one flesh. Therefore, what God has joined together, let no one separate. So God has truly brought you together. I pray you always keep the Lord first in everything you do together. May He always bless you and draw you closer as you draw closer in love for each other. As it says in 1 John 4:19, we love because He first loved us. And what is love? 1 Corinthians 13, verse 4 to 7. Love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud. It does not dishonor others, it is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered, it keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, and always perseveres. So the love that you have may it be this kind of love. I love you both.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, can we please give Victoria a huge round of applause? Now, I don't want to do what I'm about to do, but can everybody please shush? Thank you. There we go. My auntie's paying me big dollars to tell everybody to shush. It's not true, I know. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, please, can you put your hands together for the Godfather? Put your hands together for the Godfather, Mr. Jesse Messino.
Wow, I was really worried coming up to do this speech, but after Gilligan's Island over here, it's a tough act to follow, but let's see what we can do. Good evening, friends, family, and fellow wedding guests. If you don't know who I am, my name is Jesse Messino. First of all, I want to thank everyone for coming tonight. I want to thank Alice's family who are in from China. Can we get a wave? Thank you so much for traveling so far to be here for this momentous occasion. Okay, so if you're here tonight, it means a few things. It means, one, your car didn't break down on the way here. It means, two, that you have chosen to be a part of their lives in some way, shape, or form. And it means that somewhere in your heart, you care for these individuals. So thank you again for all being here. Okay, when Josh and Alice were first engaged, Joshua pulled me aside, he laid his hand on my shoulder, and he said to me, "Fratello mio, the time has come for you to become the godfather. He didn't say it like that, obviously. But he said, we want you to be the godfather. So at first I didn't understand what that meant. But now, I think I get it. So if any of you is causing trouble, forget about it, alright? Anyway, as a godfather, I know that means I will be looked upon more harshly. I will be scrutinized for my actions, and I will need to be Christ on this earth for these children that are to come. I will need to demonstrate to them what a godly life looks like and what we were raised on, the morals, the attitudes, and the respect that was instilled in us when we were just little babies. In the book of Proverbs, chapter 22, verse 6, it says, "Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it." So when I was a child, I first met Joshua. And my first thought concerning him was, but as I grew alongside of Josh, he taught me very valuable lessons. Firstly, he taught me, if you talk smack, you get a whack. And if you talk back, you get a smack. Forget about it. But he also taught me 3 valuable things. Resourcefulness, to be uncompromising, and to test all things. When we were children, one of my oldest memories with Joshua was a game that we had come up with called the jumping over the wall game. Now, to understand, to get a bit of context, we had this massive trampoline in our backyard. And the rules of the jumping over the wall game were you had to jump over the wall. There was an imaginary wall that we had put in the middle of the trampoline, and we would jump over this thing for hours on end, just jumping back and forth, left and right. It's pretty incredible. Every now and then you trip over it and you're like, oh. But what I learned from this was that Josh had a resourcefulness and a creativity to make things happen when there was nothing else around. He had a mind that was willing to think outside of the box in ways that many people wouldn't think. They would see a trampoline, Josh would see a wall. But this resourcefulness, I know, was taught to us from our dear father over here, Dad. A man who is called by many the Professor, as you have heard in the song. He is the Professor. Whatever he puts his hands to, he can make it work. You have a broken down car, he can fix it. You've got tools, he'll know how to operate them. Whatever trade you put him in, he will figure it out and he will make it work. But through all that, he has taught us excellence in whatever you do. Perseverance, even when the times are tough and there doesn't seem to be any way through. And I want to just please, if you can, give a round of applause to my father for the wonderful work he has done. Well, we wouldn't have the man of the hour right now if it weren't for the man that brought him to this world. Okay, one of these lessons that Dad taught us one day was a lesson in patience. And also a lesson in holding our bladder for 6.5 hours. So Dad used to work as a cement truck driver. And during this time, he would take Josh and I along for rides. We would go to amazing places. Many of these big builds around Melbourne, we were there on ground zero when they were being made. Sitting there, holding our bladders, hoping that the shift would end anytime soon. Please, get us home. But one day, tragedy struck. Josh and I were there, and the worst thing that could ever happen, it's not even worth speaking, our Game Boy ran out of battery. But that did not deter Joshua. But he found, on the ground, a little soy sauce packet, one of those tiny little fish, to which he emptied it out, filled it with water, and left a little bubble that we could push around with our thumbs. And thus was born the Game Boy fish. The resourcefulness did not end there, however. I remember very clearly one day, we were brought into a Safeway store and said, you can pick whatever toy you want, This one time, just you can pick a toy and it'll be good. And Josh comes up to me and he says, "Hey buddy, I got a bright idea." So that obviously. He brought me aside, and you imagine what we got. We got a big Lego set. We got Nerf gun. No, Josh and I both got for each of us a 14.5 volt battery, each. And we walked out of that store all smug like with the batteries in our hands. And I'm thinking, man, we could have gotten so many other things, but we got these batteries. But this is where Dad's resourcefulness and Josh's creativity came together in a mighty way. For never again did our Game Boy run out of batteries. Because Dad jerry-rigged this strange little contraption with this massive battery and the massive Game Boy. And it looked like a detonator. We're just walking around with this thing. But never again did we run out of batteries, I tell you that much. But what I learned from that is that Josh is an uncompromising individual. Whatever is set in motion, if Josh has put his mind to it, it cannot be stopped. 3 million wild horses cannot stop him from doing what he has set out to do. It doesn't matter if it's 3:16 in the morning. It doesn't matter if your little brother Jesse's trying to sleep. You gotta answer that call. When your Nintendo DS is saying, "Hey, play me," you gotta play that thing, man. Oh, don't listen to the haters. They'll say, "Oh, I'm trying to sleep. Get out of here with that. Play that DS. Crank the volume up even." That is the uncompromising nature of my brother. But he is a man who will never shy away from telling the truth. He will never stand by when lies are being told. He has an attitude that was not just instilled by my father, but instilled by my mother over here, my mum. Since childhood, not a single day has gone by when I have not seen you reading the Word of God. And it says in the Word of God to be not just a hearer, but a doer, something I have seen in action every day since. No matter what's going on in her life, back pain, trials, financial difficulties, she does not stop in doing the work of God. She will visit the sick. She will comfort those who are mourning. She does good to those who hate her. And she is diligent in the great commission that Jesus Christ has sent us on. So despite every setback and every trial, her uncompromising attitude has inspired us all. And she will never miss a chance to tell the world that God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish, but have everlasting life. And it is by this precious gospel that she walks. It is by this precious gospel that she lives. And by this boldness we now walk and proclaim that Jesus Christ is Lord, to the glory of God the Father. So Mum, all love, honor and respect for who you choose to be and for raising up such a fine young man. So Josh, his uncompromising attitude, the man who tells it like it is, the man who never shies away from the truth, who calls out the lies, who is steadfast in the things that matter. I will no longer cry when I see him and think, "Oh, wow, mama." I will now look at him with respect. I think of my brother like I think of the King Solomon, as someone who has set his heart to know wisdom. For it says in the Proverbs, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the Holy One is understanding." So when I first met Alice, it went a little something like this. He's knocking on the door. Hey, this is Alice. When I first met Alice, I understood that this was a rational decision made by my brother. From the beginning, there was no doubt in my mind. And it has been the best decision he has ever made since buying those 14-volt batteries. So let me just honor Alice's parents right here for raising such a wonderful young lady, for bringing her up to be an uncompromising woman who loves, who honors, and respects everyone in her life. So together, I've lost track of it. So together, Together, may you as a couple jump over every wall. May you find a solution to every trial. Whenever there are disputes, always remember to forget about it. May the Lord continue to bless you in your union with every spiritual blessing. May you always abide together in the love of God the Father, the communion with Jesus Christ the Son, and may you both be blessed with the fellowship and intimacy with the Holy Spirit. May your barns be filled with plenty. May your vats overflow with new wine. May your quiver be ever filled with arrows. And may your Game Boys never run out of battery. To my brother and my new sister, the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and grant you his peace. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, can we please give the Godfather, Jesse, a huge round of applause? Come on. And Jesse. It's like this. Has he seen The Godfather? It's what you should have been doing it, Al Pacino or Marlon Brando. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. That was the first half of our speeches. The next half, 5-minute limit, okay? 5-minute limit. Now, are we ready to do some dancing? I want to ask our bride and groom first, yes? Fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to make my way down to the dance floor.
Well done, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to invite the godfather Jesse Massini to have another dance.
Let's go, Jesse Massino!
Toku koneri, brat mi reši da se oženi, a ja spokaj nego prazna, ušte tome pjesme na duva. Ajde brate, ajde vreme, kuki snada mi donese, stara majka da se nasme, a pa tad pogota zamne. Tuga bela problema, svakake se pravi mrenja. Brat mi reši da se oženi, srca našina razveseli. Ajde brate, ajde vreme, kuki snada ne doneseš. Stara majka da se nasme, a pa tad pogota zamne. Raste nek samo, raste angeli. Gospod sobacane neka vide, život sretnje da vi imate. Gospod sobacane neka vide, život sretnje da vi imate. Svaka bašma kekovska, djeca iznovine. Deca se mi junaci, bili moji slepeni. izrodite. Deca se junaci, bili moji sledbenici, sinovi Makedonci. Ajde, majstore! Svadba baš makedonska, deca da izrodite. Deca silni junaci i moji sledbenici, sinovi makedonski. Neka udri, surni neka pija, Tanja otide mlada majko, sine da se napija. Zapala silno neka udri, surni neka pija, Tanja otide mlada majko, sine da se napija. Cijela večer majko, zapani se sluša, blagom seće orovodi, svadba ide. Cijela večer majko, zapani se sluša, blagom seće orovodi, svadba ide. Svadba je voleva, gde se žena, ja neka udri, surni neka pija, Tanja otide mlada majko, sine da se napija. Zapala silno neka udri, surni neka pija, Tanja otide mlada majko, sine da se napija. Silno zapamćuta, kako puta udira, koliko ja se ljubam, daj se nada menja. Nottavdan šuta, ako da odija Moja ja se ljubam, znaje cela radega Znaje moja nesečena Ja moja sevanja Neka udri, sumi neka veja Daj odine barak lajko, site da sve nakeja Nama sivo neka udri, sumi neka veja Daj odine barak lajko, site da sve nakeja
We're gonna have one more dance before our main meal, ladies and gentlemen, and that's the dance from the bride, Alice Macedo.
vermi drugaki. Site moji rodni, mali košni.
Well done, Alex. Ladies and gentlemen, the main meal is being served. You can all take your seats. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Can I please have a huge round of applause for Kitka? Wow, absolutely wonderful job. Ladies and gentlemen, can I please ask you to put your hands together now for our maid and matron of honour, that is Summer and Brigitte. I want some more noise.
For those of you who know us, I'm Brigitte. And I'm Summer. And for those of you who don't know us, that's a real shame. We're a hoot. We'd like to thank you again for all coming to celebrate the beautiful couple. I met Alice when we were just 10 years old. She was new to the school, so at lunch I went up to her and asked her if she wanted to hang out. And she looked me up and down and gave me the sassiest no, with the most attitude. From that moment, I knew I wanted to be best friends. We quickly became as close as could be, spending our days together at school and many nights spent having sleepovers, watching scary movies and baking pancakes. I can't believe today I'm watching my best friend, my sister, get married. I've had the pleasure of watching her grow into the beautiful, kind, caring and loyal woman she is today. Alice, I can't wait to see what the future holds for you and Josh. I only hope our future kids can be as close as we are and are lucky enough to have the friendship we have. Alice, bae. We have so many amazing memories together, it's hard to know where even to start, so I guess I'll just start at the beginning. In year 10, both me and Alice moved from our previous schools and moved to MCAT, so that's where we both were able to meet each other. I remember instantly thinking that Alice was a really cool person, but I hadn't really spoken to her at all. And one day I walked up to her and said, I know we don't know each other, but I'm coming to your birthday party, even though I wasn't invited. Despite the fact that this was quite a strange thing to do, it was one of the best decisions I made of my life. When I attended the party, me and Alice hit it off really well. The following morning, I also got the pleasure of meeting her wonderful brothers, Oscar and Andrew. They both made amazing first impressions. They're amazing people, as most of you probably already know. But unfortunately, I did not get the same pleasure of making a good first impression. My first thing I ever said to Oscar was, I'm really sorry for vomiting on your bedroom floor, Oscar. That was over 10 years ago now, so I hope you can forgive me, Oscar. Good, he doesn't remember. Alice and I were always up to silly and fun things together, and they really made my high school experience. Whether it was laughing at the kids who would sincerely ask, "Wait, are you Chinese or Asian?" because they thought the two were mutually exclusive. Or being threatened by our teachers that we were going to fail Year 12 because we wanted to leave for a month and go to Bali. Or when it's just too cold outside and we need the sun to turn up just a smidgen. Alice, we created so many beautiful memories together, and I'm so happy to be part of making this new one with you today. And Josh, you better continue ensuring this girl gets to keep making more beautiful memories because she's truly amazing and you really hit the jackpot with this one. Please look after her. She will always be my bae. We would like to congratulate again the beautiful couple, and we would also like everyone to raise their glass and have a drink because the drinks are on Alice and Josh. That's it.
Ladies and gentlemen, please a huge round of applause for Summer and Brigida. Now, I'd love to invite the best man next. That is Caleb Cannon. Let's give it up for the best man. Well, surely we can do it together better than that. And everybody,
Good evening. For anyone who doesn't know me, my name is Caleb. I've been honoured with the position of best man for Josh here. Now, for his sake, I've decided to make my speech as short and sweet as possible and share a single story that isn't too crazy. So, without any more delays, most of us here know Josh as a man who's confident, he's courageous, and he's kind. However, I bet that you don't know that he went through a phase in his life as an exhibitionist. You see, there were three major instances that happened in the span of 2 years. It all began in high school when Josh here decided to unzip his pants and expose his family jewels in a group photo with the boys. Now we thought it was amusing. We thought it was hilarious. But we didn't know we were feeding the beast inside him. You see, our laughter gave him confidence. A little down the track, when Josh and I were of a legal drinking age, we were having drinks together. And while I was drunk, I had one too many. I had my head in my hands, sitting on a bench, hoping I wouldn't die. Now, while I was in my weak and vulnerable position, I felt a weight on my shoulder. Right here. I thought it was a bug. I hoped it wasn't a big spider. So out of curiosity, I turned to look. Thankfully, Josh took a step back in the nick of time, and we avoided a major catastrophe. Because you see, it wasn't a spider that was on my shoulder. Josh had decided, in my moment of weakness and vulnerability, that he would put his family jewels and his royal staff on my shoulder. Now you think after a near catastrophic event that he would stop, that he would reel back the exhibitionist behaviors. But he didn't. A little down the track, we graduated high school. We went away to schoolies together at Torquay for a week. There were a few people in here that were there with me and Josh at the time. One of the days we were there for the week, we were invited to a house party. We were very excited to go. We got dressed up. We were ready. The majority of us were prepared to go. But Josh was missing. We looked everywhere. We walked in the bathroom and there he was, back facing us, shaven, fresh out of the shower, as naked as the day he was born. Now I understand, it was a bathroom. People are usually taking a shower, don't have clothes on in the bathroom. So I understood at the time. I apologized, closed the door, and walked back to the couch. Within 1 minute, I heard that door open. I should have known. A human being can't dry themselves off and get changed so quickly. I turned around and there he was, standing there in his naked glory, Italian stallion swinging it in the wind. And then he said, and I quote, "Do you want to see my dick?" And that was the final act. From that day till now, his exhibition stage has never occurred. But Alice, oh Alice, you have married a closeted exhibitionist. So, with the stories aside, Josh, we've been through some amazing times, good, bad, and ugly. And I want to say that with the conversation we've had in the last few years, I realized that you weren't a friend that I made back in the day. You were a brother that I found. We were brothers, and we were meant to be, even though we weren't blood. So Alice, I've seen over the course of a few years the love and care you've shown Josh. And I know that care and love is just continuing to grow. But I'll ask you, as a friend of yours myself, please take care of my brother. He is a closeted exhibitionist, and I'm sure he's going to be a handful in more ways than one. And with that, God bless you both. I'm sure I'm not alone in saying that we look forward to seeing what your future holds. To the bride and groom, cheers.
Cheers. Hang on. You're not going to end anywhere. Are you married? Right, who's going to be your best man? We want the best stories going around, okay, to repay the favour. That was something. Wow. Who sought him out after? Wait, Jesse, you sought him out after. Ladies and gentlemen, please, huge round of applause for Caleb. Thank God he's not drinking. Imagine if he drank the stories that would have come out. Okay, next, I would love to invite up your uncle, my uncle as well, Uncle Chris Jovanchevsky.
Okay. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I'd like to say how lovely Josh and Alice look and the bridal party. Can we have a big round of applause for them? I will keep it short and sweet. I'd just like to say I've known Josh all his life. He's been a great boy, now turned into a great man with a beautiful wife, and I've met Alice many years ago, and she's deeply a warm and loving person, and together they are both lovely. And I, on behalf of my family, would like to wish you a beautiful, long, loving, happy life together. And as the Macedonians say, Godina dani chastat za Kristevka, which means next year to invite us for a christening. Thank you.
Fantastic. No naked stories came out. That's good. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. Again, I will ask, please. Thank you. Now, for our next speech, you might think it's just going to be Josh. But Joshua has requested that he says his speech with his loving and caring father, aka the Italian professor. Yes? So, ladies and gentlemen, please, not just a huge round of applause for Josh, but also for his father, my uncle Frank Messino. Ladies and gentlemen, please, a huge round of applause.
Well, hello everybody. I can't type the speech from my son Jesse over there, but what I've put together was coming from my heart. Hello, everybody. As you know who I am. And I'd like to welcome all of you that you could come, and I'd like to say hello to all of you. If I haven't come to you personally, I'd like to say it now, or if you want to catch up with me later. I would like to thank all of you to make a special time for Josh and Alice. To Alice, the time you were introduced to our family, I knew that Josh had chosen wisely, and you have become part of this family. Family is the riches that any man can have, and it is the greatest gift. To my son Josh, to Josh and Alice, my son and daughter, you are now one, and today we are here to celebrate love, life together and friendship. May you both have this joy in your hearts for one another, for good and not so good times. But at those testing times, this will shape us to make us better at who you become. May God bless you both as you enter this journey together and support one another, because this is the most important thing that you have while you are on this earth. May I, we, and God bless you. Then, finishing off, you are my son. I love you. I am well pleased with you. You are God's child. You are loved by God and have the power of the love you have, the blessing of God's pleasure. I speak the word of God over you.
Okay, no worries. God bless you.
Hey, a round of applause for my dad. Let's hear it. Yeah, thank you all for coming. I'm just going to keep it short and sweet because honestly, everything that I wrote down to say, my brother honestly just said it, actually. My mum and my dad also covered a few things, so what more can I say that you guys already did? But thank you all for coming. Honestly, you're all part of our life for a reason. You've been there for us at one point in time or another, and we love you all. So thank you all for celebrating the most important day of our life with us. I want to thank my parents for obviously raising us in the right way. You know, without you, I wouldn't be here, and I wouldn't be getting married, honestly. So thank you for the moral integrity that you guys instilled in us, and yeah, you did a good job. Thank you. To Jason and Kathy, thank you so much for accepting me into your family. I felt welcome and loved from day one, and you've always been so kind and sweet to me. And even when we went to China, Jason, meeting your friends and your family, I got to see where you came from and what makes you a good father to Alice, and in a sense, how you made her to be such an amazing person that she is. So thank you for doing what you did in bringing Alice into the world. My favorite person. She wouldn't be here without you, so thank you so much. And the same, obviously, to Oscar and Andrew, Lincoln,
all of you guys, Lucy, for accepting me into the family. You guys have treated me like a brother, and you know, I can't thank you guys enough. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. I have to thank you, my beautiful wife now. We did it. This day wouldn't have happened without her. She busted her ass, honestly, to get this happening. And I can see that you guys are all having a good time. I'm glad. Drink up. We've got more dancing to do. I know it's hot. Thank you all for putting up with the heat with us. You know, what can you do? Thank you so much. Yeah. Love you all. Let's keep going. Keep the party happening. Thank you very much.
All right, let's give it up for Joshua Messina, our groom. Now, Josh and Alice, on behalf of myself and all your lovely guests here, near and far, from around the corner and from all the way back home in China, we wish you all the very best. May you be blessed with lots of love, laughter and happiness. And in all cultures, that means lots and lots and lots and lots of babies, okay, no matter where you're coming from. So it's wonderful to see three technically cultures joining and merging. So I hope I said, let me see if I get this right. Your brother was just teaching me. So, Kaojo K Party. Did I say it right? Kaojo K Party. I was meant to get an applause there, I think, from our Chinese counterparts. Which means drink up and be merry and party on. In Macedonian, well, I could go on, but I won't. So can I please get everybody raising a glass to our lovely bride and very handsome groom, to Alice and Joshua. Cheers. And now I will ask Alice and Joshua to follow me and make their way to the front table. Now, what we have for you here, folks, if I can get our waiting staff to please move that table now closer, please.
Jack, can you take a photo? So, you got a kid? I'm going to do it.
So Joshua and Alice just looking at the camera first, holding the knife, pretending to cut. There we go. Can we give him a bit of a round of applause, yeah? That's the one, that's what we want. How about a bit of a kiss? I think we need a kiss. No, but again, I missed it. Again, come on, we have some stories. Hold it. Come on, ladies and gentlemen, look at that. That's what we need. Okay, on the count of 3, please feel free to cut the cake. 1, 2, and 3. Keep cutting, cut. Beautiful. Now you went to the bottom, so you have to kiss the closest girl next to you, which so happens to be your wife. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. What we are going to do is jump straight back into the...
I would like to invite bride's father, Jason, to have a dance. Thank you, Jesse. Now I would like to invite groom's mother, Jenny Massino, to have a dance.
Šema mi se ostvari, Gospod si mi podari. Ajde da se bije, da se bije, duša mi se razveli, tebe stoji na sledi. Svega mi je sine, polna dušana, ima koji genija, tebi kukjata, liče ti na majka, odnostan doma, za dedo i baba, radost golema. neka veselo. Hajde sine gori čaši zavladite, da nazdravime one veselo. Hajde sine gori čaši zavladite, da nazdravime. Svime za se Hrvata. Zapamćuka veselo veselje, sitelo mi se sobrale. Ajde, ajde, nek se zaigra, vesela su sve krala. Ajde, ajde, sitela noga, vesela su sve krala. Igram napred, stalo svat na pjet, mene smajka želi u valet. Ajde, ajde, nek se zaigra, vesela su sve grla. Ajde, ajde, sitena noga, vesela su sve grla. Igram napred, stalo svat na pjet, mene smajka želi u valet. Ajde, ajde, nek se zaigra, vesela su sve grla. Ajde, ajde, sitena noga, vesela su sve grla.
Thank you, Jenny.
Mene skakva nije pravi me, imam zoštvo i da stavi me. Dvajca mladi što se sada, trače život za počuva. Mene skakva nije pravi me, imam zoštvo i da stavi me. Dvajca mladi što se sada, trače život za počuva. Podečka žive, da stavi me, i da viži da zamoravi me. Da zaigra me, da zapne me, i sam presli naši život da žive. Podečka žive, da zdravi a za mene nisu pesni naši, život naši vere. Nema pesma koji ne zapeva, nema puno koji ne zaigra. Sedam svoj sebe sebe, i svoj dok na zdravu rame. Nema pesma koji ne zapeva, nema puno koji ne zaigra. Sedam svoj sebe sebe, Sobirom na zdravu rame, osjećam žive, da me zanime i da priživljam samo na mine, da zaigrale, da za mene nisu pesni naši život žive. Osjećam žive, da me zanime i da priživljam a za mene nisu pesni naši život ne žive.
Joshua's cousins to have a dance. Joshua's cousins. We're inviting Jenny's first cousins to have the dance. Jenny's first cousins. Next to the dance is Bruce's extended grandfather, Koles Stojewski. Neka poveli Koles Stojewski, 10 euro.
Kaži na me istina, da li me sanjaš i budiš, da li si braća majka ti da me zapomni, da li si braća
ti ще много весело ми да си дочекаш. Тетката Мирянка Тръпковски е наред да изиграва. Тетката Мирянка Тръпковски.
Kiedy dojda večernja svojstva, kiedy legena ti v koja sta kiedy dojda večer otvori, umočno ti ostavljene izvori. Kiedy dojda večernja svojstva, kiedy legra ti tvoja slavljenica, kiedy dojda večer otvori, ljubašnosti ostavljene izvori. Kiedy dojda večernja svojstva, kiedy legra ti tvoja slavljenica, kiedy dojda večer otvori, ljubašno ti ostavljene izvori.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that was it for the Macedonian music. Can I get everyone to please give my very dear friends Kipka a huge round of applause? They are one of Melbourne's best, almost as good as Express Band, my band, but you know, my boys couldn't be here, but these guys are my brothers, and I thank them very much every single time. Now, I believe, where's Josh and Alice gone? Have they already taken, oh there it is. So now we have a little bit of Australian, disco, R&B, rock, a bit of everything. If your mum has your way, there'll be more Elvising now, I'm pretty certain of that. So ladies and gentlemen, please make your way back to the dance floor for a little bit of English music.
Crazy like a fool. What about Daddy cool?
show you the way love's supposed to be. Baby, you should let me. You deserve better. You know you deserve better. We should be together, baby. With me and you, it's forever, girl. Hey, so can we make this thing ours? You should let me love you. Let me be the one to give. Everything you need. Said everything need your selection. Will you take me back? 24 minutes. You should let me love you. Let me be the one to give you everything you want and need. That good love and protection. Make me your selection. Show you the way love's supposed to be. You should let me love you. Let me be the one to give you everything you want and need. Good love and protection. Take me your selection. Show you the way love's supposed to be.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have only got about 5-10 minutes left. So for those of you here, please, onto the middle of the dance floor. And very soon we will be saying our farewells to Joshua and Alice. That's it, let's make this last 5 minutes memorable for Josh and Alice. And for those of you who are here, how about we get one more massive hip hip hooray for the lovely couple, yes? On my count, 1, 2, 3, hip hip! And one more, hip hip! And lucky last, hip hip! Oh, that was the quietest one, that was be the loudest. One more, hip hip! one more song, one more song. Okay, can I get everybody please behind Josh and Alice? Everybody behind, not in front, behind. So please make some noise. Behind, guys, behind. Please, Josh and Alice, may you be blessed with a long and happy life together. And may God bless you with a wonderful family. From everybody here, have a wonderful night. God bless and thank you. Thank you, everybody.